What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, and having a great day so far. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where I do the daily weather update for the United States, talking about all the weather happenings, tropical weather, wildfires, severe weather, all the weather in between, and even weather events that happen around the world. Today, we have quite a few things to talk about. There's the potential for yet another tropical system down in the Caribbean, and maybe eventually the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, you heard me correctly. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe, give this a thumbs up down below, and of course hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. You will especially want to be subscribed and notified because I think things are going to be busy over the next couple of weeks, especially given we're going to be talking about a tropical system that, yes, could threaten parts of the United States, Florida. Pay attention. All right, starting off with New Jersey. The wildfire in New Jersey up near the New York State border, the Jennings Creek wildfire, is now up to 3,500 acres, or was at 3,500 acres, and it's saying here that it's now could possibly be getting near 5,000 acres. Yeah, so this fire is really going out of control. Take a look at that hillside. That's not normal for this time of year in North Jersey. It just shows how dry it has been up there. All right, also wanted to show you this. Better to be aware and be prepared than not being prepared. Let's think ahead a little bit. Let's think ahead to November 20th through the 22nd. The Climate Prediction Center just put this tweet out just a little bit ago. A strong storm system November 20th through the 22nd favors increased risk of hazards for snow across the central and northern plains, hazardous cold across the southern plains, and widespread high winds from the plains to the Great Lakes with the greatest risk across the central and northern plains. You can see here, slight risk of heavy snow on November 20th through the 22nd, moderate risk of high winds, and moderate risk of below normal temperatures as well to the southern side of this. So it's going to be a very active period, and at that same time, as I stated, we're going to be watching the Gulf. All right, moving on now to this. Here's that wildfire risk, and we can see it remains elevated across portions of the Northeast today, including Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Connecticut, the rest of Massachusetts, the lower Hudson Valley, small elevated area in Los Angeles for today, and taking a look at tomorrow, places just east of Baltimore, all the way up to near Boston. Yet again, an elevated risk for fire, so please, no outside burning if you're in these areas. Taking a look now at the national satellite picture, as we can see here, the sun is getting ready to set in the east. We can see still some clouds, still a few showers along the Gulf Coast, especially around Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi border. And we can also see here, things are quiet in the east, and we do still have an active setup in the west. Take a look. There comes the next storm system that's getting ready to hit the Pacific Northwest. Taking a look at radar, we can see still a few showers in the southeast. We do see that there is a system moving over Wyoming and Colorado. And take a look at this. More moisture is getting ready to come onshore for Oregon and Washington. Taking a look now at the National Hazards Map, red flag warnings up for portions of lower Hudson Valley in New York, portions of Long Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. You also do have frost and freeze advisories up from North Carolina into Virginia, where things will get mighty cold tonight, and they could even hit the freezing mark in some areas. And we can see some winter weather advisories and winter storm watches up in portions of the Rocky Mountains. Also, very windy conditions expected, where wind advisories are up at this time, and even a few high wind warnings. All right, let's talk about the tropics here. We can see day 2. There is now a 60% chance of tropical formation in the Caribbean Sea. And let's go to 7-day out. Look at this. Yes, there is now 90% chance of development in the 7-day period. This storm would become a tropical depression. Then it would be named Sara, Tropical Storm Sara. And maybe at some point, it's possible it could go all the way up to Hurricane Sara. That's the next name on the tropical list. Right now, it is being called Invest 99L. That just happened this afternoon. Here's the current satellite picture, and we can see here it is starting to get a little bit better looking than it has over the past few days, which is why the probability of development has gone up. Also, we can take a look at the first bits of intensity guidance, just a few intensity models, and take a look at this. they are all expecting this. There's only 4 of them, and all 4 of them say, yes, this will reach hurricane status. So that's something we have to keep our eyes on. Something else we have to keep our eyes on is this, the ensembles and hurricane forecast tracks, which are now expecting that there could potentially, take a look at this, be impact to Florida. And you can see here, the GEFS is showing that. Let's go through the models. First off, here's the European model. And by Thursday, you can see European saying either a tropical depression or a weak tropical storm. By the time we get towards Friday morning, it's definitely a tropical storm. And by the time we get Saturday morning, it's getting close to hurricane status. And you can see here, it is going to dance around a bit before it does start to move west. And it will eventually go over the Yucatan Peninsula. And then, yes, the Gulf of Mexico. Where it goes in the Gulf of Mexico remains to be seen. You can see up here in the United States, there is this trough that's going to be coming down. So that is going to push this storm back to the east after its initial northwest push. Where it tracks after that remains to be seen. But there is a lot of guidance today that is saying, hey, southern Florida, the Keys, Miami, Naples, Florida, you need to pay attention to this storm. Take a look here. Now, mind you, we're 200 hours out. This is likely to change, but as of right now, the European is showing a hit for southern Florida. Let's also take a look at the GFS. Take a look at GFS. It's also showing a hit for Florida. It's a little bit further north, though. And let's take a look at the Canadian and see what that shows. Canadian, definitely not a hurricane. This is more on the line of tropical storm, a weak tropical storm hitting Florida. But again, it does hit Florida on the Canadian as well. Now let's take a look at some ensemble data. It's always good to take a look at the ensembles this far out. So first off, we're taking a look at the GFS. The GFS ran many more times, and we see what result it comes up with. We can see there's strong agreement that this storm is going to form and it's going to become a named tropical system. There's also pretty good agreement on the Yucatan Peninsula. Some of it goes further east over Cuba, but watch what happens here. Several members do hit southern Florida, so I'm really concerned about that. Now let's take a look at the EPS, which is the European Ensemble Prediction system, and basically this is the Euro ran many more times. And on the ensemble with the Euro, you can see here, strong agreement that the system will develop. Right now we're looking at here around Sunday, and then watch what happens as we head into next Monday. Goes towards the Yucatan Peninsula, and several members by middle of next week show a hurricane over Florida. So here's the deal. We have a lot of time to watch this. Things are obviously potentially going to change. We could see this shift more south. We could see this shift more north. We're talking about something that is 200 hours out when it comes to potential impact for Florida. Right now, we need to monitor what happens in the early stages. We also need to see the system develop a low-level circulation. Once the system, which once again, here it is right here, develops a center of circulation, then the models will get a better handle. And once it becomes a named system, well, we'll see a lot more tropical guidance added to the tool belt of what we can use to help forecast this system. So until we get to that point, take everything with a grain of salt. But the key takeaway is that right now, there's a lot of model guidance that's saying definitely Yucatan Peninsula and definitely potentially a threat for Florida, and that we really need to keep our eyes on this. There's a lot of people also talking about this storm system. So over the next several days, keep our eyes on this, and I think we will definitely have at least Tropical Storm Sara probably by some point on Thursday, at the very latest Friday morning, because you saw those ensembles, or you saw that tropical guidance, or at least 4 members that are now available say, yeah, this is going to develop, and yeah, it's probably going to become a name system within the next 48 to 60 hours. All right, moving on now. We do have 2 marginal risk areas of severe storms, one today in Texas, Oklahoma, and southern Kansas. And then we do have a day 2 one, which is up for portions of New Orleans, Louisiana, portions of southern Mississippi, and portions of southwest, extreme southwest Alabama. Tornado, 2%, wind, 5%, and hail, not much of an issue at this time, but there is also a marginal risk of severe weather from the northern California coast through all of the Oregon coast and up into portions of Washington. And the main threat there is wind at this time, and there is no day 3 threat at the moment. All right, moving on now to precipitation totals over the next 7 days. And we can see days 1 through 7. The highest precipitation in the United States will be in the Pacific Northwest, where you have that parade of storm systems continuing. You do have a big storm system that is getting ready to come on shore now. Then there will be another storm system that impacts the central region, and we'll have to keep our eyes on Carolina, North Carolina, and portions of southern Virginia. There is going to be a storm system that develops there, because that system that was originally to go over portions of New England or the Mid-Atlantic, well, that blocking pattern, which is now set up, is going to push that further to the south. And that blocking pattern that I'm talking about could be another piece of the puzzle to what happens with Sara as well. All right, moving on now to Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall forecast. And we can see here, there's a marginal risk in the Pacific Northwest today, and there's a marginal risk tomorrow. There's also a marginal risk across Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and extreme southeast portions of Missouri. And then by the time we get to day 3, there is no risk area as of yet. We will get new drought information on Thursday, so stick around for that. Check me out on Thursday. Here is the latest NAM model, which just came in the 18Z run. And we can see here, a fetch of moisture is going to set up along Louisiana tomorrow, and some of that could provide some showers and thunderstorms, even as far north as Kentucky and even up into the Ohio Valley. And this storm system is the system that I am watching for Thursday. But watch what happens. Here it comes into Pennsylvania, but watch. Boom. It starts to get suppressed to the southeast. Anything that comes towards Philadelphia will be very limited. The air mass is going to be very dry, but you do see in North Carolina and off the southern coast of Virginia, an area of low pressure does get going, and that could provide a good amount of precipitation. Take a look here. You can see the NAM is pointing out, a bullseye area in eastern North Carolina of 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. The European is also showing that system developing as well. In fact, let's take a look at the Euro. First off, you can see on the Euro in the Pacific Northwest, here's your next storm system. Rainy conditions, windy conditions, mountain snows, maybe even some thunderstorms along the coastal region. Here's that other storm system that is going to be developing in the midsections of the country. But watch what happens. Much like what I just showed you with the NAM, it gets suppressed, but the European really wants to get this storm system going. You see, there's a block here in the northeast. So this storm system cannot come into the northeast anymore. It is blocked from doing that. But take a look at this area of low pressure that gets going. Yeah, it could get quite windy with this little coastal storm. That's what it is. And there could even be some high tide as well. High tide could be a little higher than normal, but take a look at this next thing I'm going to show you. The European is also showing higher precipitation amounts now. So 2 to 3 inches of rainfall locally higher cannot be ruled out in North Carolina and maybe even southern Virginia. But look at this. To the northeast of that, there really is a brick wall. Maybe hardly even a drop in Delaware, New Jersey, northeast Maryland, eastern Pennsylvania. Yeah, you can see here, it was quite the trend that's been ongoing here, the European. At one time, it looked like there may have been precipitation. Now, as you can see, absolutely nothing is expected. Continuing on with Euro, there is something else I want to show you. Next week, we have to keep our eyes on early next week. This is Monday. Take a look at this. Monday morning, potentially severe weather. I've been talking about this over Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even into Kansas. Yes, it is a possibility. I think there could be an isolated tornado, wind threat, maybe even a little bit of a hail threat as well. And behind that, we do have this trough that sets up. And take a look at this. This is a fairly impressive trough. What this trough does and the timing of this trough could be a part of a factor that decides where future tropical system Sara would go. You can see this trough. It's actually not far off from trying to catch Sara. Should that happen, well, the system would then try to come up the coast, but that's something that's not likely at the moment. But here's the thing that I really want you to see. You now see a ridge in the west coast on the second half of the European run. You see a huge trough that sets up in the east in this upper level low pattern, yes, this would be much colder setup in the east, which would mean below average temperatures and not this above average temperatures that we have been seeing. And look at this, really windy conditions. There would potentially be some lake effect snows over Lake Erie and all the lakes actually. So yeah, we got to keep our eyes on this, and we really also need to keep our eyes on what happens with potential tropical cyclone, which will eventually be named Sara. All right, now let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Above average in the northeast, below average in the west, and then we can see 6 to 10 day precipitation, slightly below average precipitation in the west, and above average really for many places except for near normal in the northeast. And on the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, it's still showing above average in the northeast, but I'm telling you, if that European is correct and it does get cooler like it's showing, forget about this even verifying. And in the southwest, below average temperatures. 8 to 14 day outlook. Below average precipitation in the west, slightly above average in the east. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Tuesday weather update. We'll have another update tomorrow on everything we talked about today, and of course, all eyes will be on what happens in the tropics. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing down below and hit that notification bell to be notified of my future videos. Share this video with anyone you know. I want to keep as many people informed as possible. Sharing this video is a great way to help me do just that. And of course, leave any questions and comments down below. Remember, you can always follow me on Blue Sky and X at Climate Data Report. On X, it is abbreviated Climate Data RPT. See you all again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.